Ecuador and the United States strike at crime routes. In Esmeraldas, the Ecuadorian Navy and the United States Southern Command are strengthening operations to confront threats on the northern border. Cooperation between both countries promotes the exchange of capabilities and joint training to combat drug trafficking, organized crime, and other transnational threats.
The commander of the Southern Command himself, General Francis L. Donovan, was personally in Ecuador to lead a major operation against organized crime. The operation involved thousands of American and Ecuadorian military personnel, resulting in significant arrests and large-scale drug seizures. The presence of the American commander directly on the front lines shows that bilateral operations can be decisive when the goal is to confront narco-terrorist factions that challenge the sovereignty of countries. The message is clear. When there is political will, results follow and criminals are neutralized. General Donovan made a point of working side by side with Ecuador's defense commander, General Henry Delgado Salvador. This stance dismantles the narrative that joint operations with Allied forces would be a violation of national sovereignty, as the current Brazilian government has insisted.
The American government decided to classify PCC and Comando Vermelho as terrorist organizations, creating enormous embarrassment for the Brazilian government, which has been opposing this type of classification. And on the eve of an election, the Lula government's main vulnerability is the public perception that it cannot combat organized crime.
By opening its doors to this partnership, Ecuador demonstrates strategic maturity and a focus on protecting its population. But why is it that the current Brazilian president does not accept the launch of a joint operation against crime? Welcome to Vida no Quartel. President Daniel Noboa has established a zero-tolerance policy against criminal factions in Ecuador. Curfews have been imposed in crime-dominated areas, and the presence of the armed forces has intensified. This firm stance is already beginning to be reflected in lower crime rates, showing that direct confrontation combined with international support can change realities that were once considered irreversible. The military power of the Southern Command is a factor that cannot be ignored. With warships, state-of-the-art aircraft, and highly trained troops, this structure is capable of attacking vessels, destroying logistics centers, and arresting criminals in quick and precise operations. The capacity for mobilization and response is unparalleled, and when applied together with local forces, it becomes a force multiplier. The ships of the Southern Command patrol the seas and efficiently intercept illegal shipments. The aircraft ensure constant surveillance and carry out surgical strikes when necessary. The military personnel prepared to operate in any terrain provide direct support to the national forces, increasing security in critical areas. This combination of resources creates a shield against the advance of the factions. Follow us on our channel. The presence of the armed and equipped commander himself is a symbolic and practical example that the command should be close to the troops. This presence shows commitment, leadership, and confidence in the operation. For Brazil, this example should serve as a warning. Instead of claiming that the presence of the United States would be a violation of sovereignty, the country should seriously consider this cooperation. The historic friendship between the Brazilian and American armed forces has already resulted in numerous joint training exercises. A military coalition between the two countries would give the Brazilian security forces access to advanced intelligence technology and a rapid response force against factions like the PCC and the Red Command. Brazil could accept American assistance through bilateral agreements that clearly establish the limits of the Southern Command's operations on national territory. These agreements should provide for joint operations, always with the direct participation of the Brazilian armed forces, ensuring that sovereignty is not violated. The American presence would be complementary, providing military power, technology, and logistics, while the command of operations would remain under Brazilian coordination. This integration would allow the country to confront criminal factions more efficiently without giving up its institutional autonomy.
From France, we have people here from the country, and so to confront criminal organizations, efficiency, autonomy, we have people here from France, we have people here from Korea, and that's very, very, very good.
One of the most relevant points would be the cooperation between the FBI and the federal police. The FBI has consolidated expertise in transnational investigations, especially in combating drug and arms trafficking. The federal police, in turn, already plays a strong role in operations against criminal organizations and could benefit from information, techniques, and advanced resources provided by the Americans. This partnership would not mean subordination, but rather an exchange of capabilities, increasing the effectiveness of investigations and strengthening the fight against organized crime, which operates on a global scale. In the same way, cooperation between the CIA and ABIN would be strategic for Brazil. The CIA has a global intelligence network capable of tracking trafficking routes, identifying international connections, and anticipating the movements of criminal organizations. ABIN, as the national agency, would have access to privileged information and could integrate it into the Brazilian context, ensuring that operations respected sovereignty. This union of forces would enhance the ability to anticipate and respond, allowing Brazil not only to react but also to prevent criminal actions within its territory. The military power of the Southern Command is another factor that could be decisive. With warships, surveillance aircraft, and highly trained troops, the Americans are able to attack logistical structures, intercept vessels, and arrest criminals in quick and coordinated operations. Alongside the Brazilian armed forces, this arsenal would be used in an integrated way, ensuring that Brazil maintained political and strategic command of the actions. This partnership would not only increase response capability, but also reduce the risks faced by Brazilian police officers and military personnel on the front lines. The direct presence of the commander of the Southern Command in joint operations would have both symbolic and practical significance. It would show commitment and respect to Brazil, reinforcing that cooperation is not an imposition, but a strategic alliance where everyone benefits. This stance would strengthen trust between the forces and show the world that Brazil is willing to confront organized crime seriously. Instead of seeing the partnership as a threat to sovereignty, the country should recognize that opening the door to joint operations is an opportunity to protect its population, its economy, and its own institutional stability. The absence of an integrated national-level strategy leaves the country vulnerable and with no prospects for improvement. Brazilian companies and citizens are migrating to other countries in the region, seeking not only economic stability, but also protection for their families and businesses. This flight of talent and investment is a direct reflection of the insecurity that dominates Brazil. But while the fallacy that national sovereignty is being violated becomes a cliché, Brazil keeps fighting a losing battle. Criminals die, police officers die, innocent people die, and nothing changes. Leave a comment below if you would or would not like to see joint operations with United States military forces carried out within Brazil. Here at Vida no Quartel, you stay up to date with everything happening in the military world. Leave a like, subscribe, and watch one of the videos that's appearing on your screen. Forward fighters, see you next time.